her she's not paying attention. Janelle.
Hey! I'm still working.
I know, we are working. Happy overtime to you. It's Wednesday.
Well, hello.
And we started that was very formal of you.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I'm trying to make up for my distraction.
You're just bananas today. Look at her shirt. She's got bananas on it. Sorry. Couldn't resist. So, really great article we found online. It's partially called 16 Dads and Their Biggest Parenting Regrets. I don't like the title. I said this on air. We started talking about this about half an hour ago. The better question is what 16 dads were actually asked. They were asked if they got a parenting do-over, what would they have done differently? And that really is, I think, a more constructive way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's not the how horrible were you, tell us. What did you do wrong? It's what would you do better?
Yeah.
So they had a bunch of different answers in here, and I'll give mine here in a minute, but I want to hear from you, like dads. What would you do differently if you could have a do-over? Should we let mom say that too or not? I don't know.
I'll let you make that call.
Well, let's start with dads and see if moms can resist. I know we have a lot of the ladies here with us.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Good
your husband
morning.
has told you his regret.
Good morning, Callie. She says she received her prize in the mail. So
Oh, good.
Cool. Hi, Sheila and Mike.
Good morning, Mike.
And many of you tuning in. So the question is, what is your parenting do-over? This is for dads, and we're waiting on Brian to share his.
I'll get to my specific one in a minute, but a couple of these really resonated with me. There was a guy from Pennsylvania, his name is Al, and he said, I wish I'd taken a more active interest in my kids' obsessions. He went on to say, my son was super into Pokemon when he was about 10. He was just obsessed with it. He would get so excited to share it with anyone who would listen. I was very meh about it. Pokemon, whatever. Like, oh, that's cool, neat, good job. He said, but I really missed a chance there. I didn't need to become a Pokemon expert. He said, but sometimes I think of the way my son's face would have lit up if I would have asked him to teach me how to play.
Aww. Aww.
And I know something you've done good as a mom when the kids were into Fortnite. You were like, here, show me how to play. And you played it.
That was funny.
And I know a guy who, his son now works for Apple. And he said one of his great regrets was he remembers walking into, like they had a family get together, and his brother-in-law was sitting talking to his son, who loved computers. And he walked in and just stood there for a minute and listened, and his brother-in-law was taking an interest in his son's obsession with computers. And they were talking about it using the same language, and he goes, I've missed it. And he, in his mind, he's like, I've missed it.
Aww.
I've missed an opportunity. I got him a computer. I was like, oh, you like that? Go ahead, here, like it.
Yeah.
But he didn't show an interest in it.
Yeah.
It's hard to do when you really know nothing about something or don't like it. But that's a good lesson.
Callie says, my do-over would be starting to read the Bible in front of them.
Yeah.
That was mentioned during the show. So, let's say as a mom, sometimes, okay, the Lord has put us together for a reason, and we kind of come together as a puzzle piece, and a lot of men in general, a lot of their weakness, we can kind of complement it, and vice versa. So if as a mom, before it becomes a regret, if you kind of see those, is it okay to, like, is it nagging to be like, yo, you might want to XYZ? Would you want that?
It depends on how it comes up, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because we don't need you telling us all the things we're doing wrong all the time. I think the better way to do it, look at you, oh my God.
Because it's always like that, you're so, like...
Well, no, but in all seriousness,
It can
the
come
better
off
way to
that
do
way,
it,
yeah.
you know the better way to do it is? It's the woman's sneaky way. Encourage him when he does it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at your husband and go, wow, I love how you look at you, just showed an interest with him. I know you don't like that very
Yeah.
much, but I bet that means the world to him. Instead of, you know, you really ought to be showing an interest in what your son does.
Why does it always have to come outside? Oh my gosh. Every time. Callie says, make them aware of how thankful we should be to God and everything He's given us.
Sure.
Good morning, Eva and Rod. Good morning. Mike says, during the child raising years, the stress level is extreme, and we learn from mistakes made during those long years. Rod says, doesn't this topic resemble a Lot's wife looking back regret?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you know, I'm not one who would go spend a lot of time thinking about regrets. And I know what you're saying in that, Rod, but it's more, I want to help the newer dads avoid some of my mistakes, and I want to truly be able to speak to my kids about my mistakes in the future. Like one dad who called us and live on the show talking about this was able to point out a discussion he had with his own children about and able to apologize for things and such. And so, if you could get a do-over, what would you do differently? And I've got mine, so I'll just to maybe motivate other people. I would have surrendered my agenda sooner.
Your agenda. What's your agenda?
So, in a number of ways, I had my things. This connects kind of like what Ron was talking about.
Yeah.
But the most specific example would have been I love writing.
Mm-hmm.
I love blogging. I haven't written a blog post in over a year probably now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's intentional.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have learned that a long time ago, because here's what would happen to me. I would be so into writing and love it so much that we'd talk about something on the show and I would go, ooh, I can't wait to write about this, and I'd start writing about it, and then I'd get home and I'd write about it, and the kids would come by and be like, just give me a minute. I'm in the middle, I gotta finish this thought. And I would do a lot of that dismissiveness to my kids to finish my thing, when the better move, as much as I love writing, would have been, I gotta stop this. It's becoming an obstacle to giving my kids what they need. Not that I have to give up everything, but if something is truly becoming an obstacle with my kids, I gotta surrender it. Pick it back up some other time. Stop doing it. Doing it for me. Like Ron talked about giving up football. I wish I would have surrendered writing sooner, so that I wouldn't have done that to my kids for so many years. Like literally got mad at them when they would interrupt me in the middle of a thought.
Yeah.
When I'm about to write something.
Yeah.
It's a regret. I wish I could do that over. I'm trying to be constructive with it in that unless it's absolutely necessary for work, I'm not writing.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna for a while.
That's good.
And hopefully that doesn't happen to my little boys now. Hopefully I can fix that with the little ones.
Yeah.
So advantage of having lots of kids,
That's
you can get do-overs.
Sacrifices the oldest kids make. So
Oh.
for all the younger people, thank you, thank us.
Nobody feels sorry for you. You get everything first.
Our parents learned with us. Sheila says, it's not a do-over, but a work in progress. I want to be more laid back with them. It's an artsy perfectionist. I want to get to the point where I can do crafts and cooking with them and not worry about the inevitable mess, but just have fun learning together. Oh, I love that. Annette says the dads need to know for sure that the wife thinks that he is a priority before the kids.
Yeah. Ladies.
Oh my goodness. And we're the ones that tell you when you gotta work on something. Ladies.
No man is telling you what to work on, trust me.
Mike says, pay more attention to my wife and lead by making the right choices even when those around me didn't agree.
Huh.
There's one thing, like, I can be very hard on myself with parenting, and so obviously I have regrets with the oldest two, maybe, already, and they're 16 and 15. And one thing that kind of caught me, and one of my favorite shows is This Is Us, and there was one episode, I don't know if you remember because you don't follow it as well, where the two of the three siblings remember an event with the dad. That's when they start fighting with the cake. And one of them remembers it kind of more traumatically and sad, and the other one, it was like positive. So that kind of made me realize, like, oh my goodness, how childhood memories, it all depends on who, like, it made me wonder, how will they each remember different events? And what I think is negative to them, you know, could be like great. And so that brings Isaiah, who's my 16-year-old. And so one day, based on my regrets, I'm like trying to bring order to the house, and I'm getting, like, I'm harder on the younger ones, like get it together and trying to do things better. And one day he was like, Mommy, what are you doing to these little kids? Like, the way you're trying to teach them as a homeschool mom, or the way you're doing things, is different to what you did with me. And he's like, my favorite memories was when you, and then he started listing stuff. And he's like, that's why I love learning. That was his thing. And I was like, oh my, and so he was just, he didn't know what's going on in my brain. He was like, why are you switching things? Like, that was my favorite thing that you did. So my whole point is, overall, sometimes we're so hard on ourselves. And I'm wondering if we sit down with our kids and say, hey, like, how am I doing? Or how do you remember things? It may surprise us.
Well, I think it will, because oftentimes what happens in life, even, you go up to somebody and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry I said such and such to you. I hurt your feelings. They go, huh, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, this, one of my mentors told me that he was talking to his adult daughter, like, hey, what's your favorite memory of us together? And he's thinking, remember that time when I sacrificed, I took the whole family to Disney World and we did, you know what she said? She goes, yeah, every once in a while you grab my hand and we walk across the street to Rite Aid and get ice cream.
Wow.
And he's like, really? Like, that's your treasured moment? I tried to create all these treasured things for you.
Yeah.
And he wasn't mad. He's telling himself this. He's like, wow, I'm all worried about my mistake, whatever I did. Didn't even remember it.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Jeffrey says he loves the transparency. Callie says, I wish my husband would take more time to understand our oldest son. My oldest son tends to be more emotional than the other two. My husband just doesn't know how to deal with it.
No, that's a real thing. It is a real thing. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, especially when your kid is opposite of you.
Yeah.
It can be difficult to make that. Yeah, and I think that could definitely be regret at some point. I know Tanks is here.
Hey, Tanks.
Good to see you, Tanks. And I'd love to hear what your big dad do-over would be. What would you do differently, Tanks?
And in terms of what our perception is, I've told the story before where my oldest kids grew up in a house that I thought needed upgrade. You know, and so we had all 4 boys in one bedroom. And they like, it was 3 beds stacked up like a bunk bed. And so when we bought because you got the, what is that thing?
Oh, the trundle bed?
The trundle.
Man, you're just stacking them up like sardines.
It was crazy. And so we're thinking, oh yeah, we're upgrading. We bought the new house. And for months and still to this day, they still talk about, we miss the old house, we miss the old house. So for years, I'm thinking, oh, I'm fine. Like, we need to upgrade. We finally upgrade. And now I'm like, why do y'all keep bringing up the old house? Like, what do you miss? They specifically said we miss all being in one room. We loved how we were all in one room. So it's again how we're harder on ourselves, and a lot of what we feel is valuable or maybe mistakes we're making either are overlooked or looked at differently. You know?
By the way, hi Lauren Cuevas.
Lauren, hola. Why did I say hola? Okay, so Mike says, I've shared big memories with my mom that she has no recollection of. Children will have memories that we don't remember, so we need to do our best. That is so true. Roseanne, good morning. Buenos dias. She says, I love this topic. I was blessed. Oh, I love this. I was blessed with an imperfect but amazing dad who was present to us and gave us a childhood filled with faith, laughter, and adventure. I can't ask for more. And
that's where, we had Troy calling in the live show to talk about really powerful story about how he learned so many lessons through football, that he tried to take those lessons and football and put them on his son, and he wishes he could do that over again. I think in hindsight, his son is going to recognize, my dad did that because he loves me.
Yeah.
That's where I think that the dad who sold out for Jesus, who's trying to do his best, in spite of our mistakes, I think kids are going to, in hindsight, Lord willing, be able to look back and go, yeah, you were a mess, but I know why you did it.
Yeah.
And some of the other ones in this article, as you all give us your do-over dads. A lot of silent dads out there.
Yeah, Dad.
We see how many of you are in there. Just saying. Somebody wrote in, I wish I would have spoken to my children about money more often. This dad looks back, he's 43 years old, and he says, he kept saying to his kids, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. We can't afford that. And it turns out it made his kids really stressed out about money.
Yeah.
Where he wishes he would have said, that's pretty expensive.
What are your views on that?
I worry about that with my kids. When you don't have a ton of expendable income, you want to be sure your kids understand that they can't just have whatever they want, and that we can't afford it. But you don't want to scare them that we don't have any money, So I don't know if I'm doing that one well or not. I guess I'll find out later.
Rod said, go ahead.
No, if Rod's got it, there we go.
Rod says, I remembered how my dad interacted with me when I was young, so I was really focused on being more interactive with my kids. But circumstances beyond my control interfered with being the best dad that I could have been for them, so it's difficult to determine what I could have done differently.
Yeah. No, I think that makes some sense. Appreciate that, Rod. Somebody else said in this article, and then again, 16 dads were asked what they would do differently if they had a do-over as a dad. Somebody wrote, I wished I realized sooner I didn't have to act like my parents.
I saw that one. What is that? I didn't have to act like my parents. Usually you hear people surprised, like, oh my goodness, I'm acting like my mom.
He said, I would have listened way less to my own parents. They're good parents, and they mean well, but they definitely screwed some things up. And they were very heavy-handed when it came to telling us how to raise our kids. My wife took exception to it, and I was torn. Ultimately, we made a lot of our own decisions and ended up with wonderful, wonderful kids. When they're young, kids are like a project for everyone. I appreciate the input, but I needed to lean the right way when I was trying to balance. So his parents were meddling in their parenting
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and leaned away from his wife too much. That's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one.
I wish I had worked out more before I had kids, one guy said. That's not me.
You don't have
Clearly
that
I
stuff.
worked out plenty.
Hello, yes. We
Plenty
can
of
tell.
working out here, right,
We
Tanks?
can tell.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Tanks.
You're stronger than Tanks.
Somebody said, I wish I stressed less about my son's interests.
Stressed?
This one was interesting to me. He said, I used to be worried about my son not having any interests or activities. My oldest was always so quiet and introverted. I was always trying to get him to do this thing or another and stressed about it. Then, all on his own, he started getting into music and photography. The next thing I know, he's been accepted to 7 colleges
Wow.
and is playing drums at church. I really wish I just would have relaxed more and realized he'd find his own path without me having to pave it for him.
Oh.
I've spent a lot of time worried about, oh no, my kid doesn't have any interests. They don't do anything. They don't like anything. When if you just wait, they'll find it.
That's fine. For me, the way that's looking like now, I trip out when I see Elijah. This dude is like drawing all the time. And I'm like, put your stuff down and now we
Get
go
to
to
work.
school. Yeah, and then like quietly, don't tell him. I was like, wait a minute, there's like art class. Like this could be his thing. And I'm like, put that down and pick up the work. Now he gets the work done, but I always treat it like, stop. Like, and I value him. You know, I value his creativity. But I've done that so much in terms of school that I was like, man, like you said, like let him explore what could actually become his passion and his career. And like you said, they'll find, you know, he'll find his way.
And it might be later than you want. Like, I want my kid when
yeah.
he's 5 to find his thing. I've discovered you may have to wait till middle school, high school for them to find their
Hello,
thing.
yeah, that's so true.
And I forget that I didn't find, my thing for many years was playing bass guitar. I didn't start playing until 8th grade.
Wow. That's another thing. When we look at our kids, we forget, like, wait a minute. When did I discover this? Or when did I figure it out? And I turned out fine. And, you know, that kind of stuff. We forget our own struggle.
Another of the 16 dads wrote, I wish I didn't judge other parents so much. He said that before I had kids, I used to sneer and snicker every time I'd see an unruly child in public. I'd get annoyed and think, my kid will never act like that, as she laughs. Of course, we all did that.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course not, right? I was going to be the perfect parent and raise the perfect child, a child incapable of ever acting up, and I was so judgy, and I want to sincerely apologize to any struggling parent
Aww.
that I ever looked up and down. And I think even as young parents we do this too. We judge others, and then suddenly you're encountered with some dilemma as a parent you've never encountered before, and you don't know what to do, and you end up not handling it well. You go, okay, well, maybe I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's lots of good ones in here. By the way, if you see the article, these guys are uncensored and not all of them are Christians. So if you don't like some of their language, you know, you've been warned. But I think it's still interesting nonetheless. How about this one? This dad wishes he would have traded fights for pep talks.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that good? He said, I wish I knew that having a plan isn't the same thing as having a plan that works out. When we got married, we tried to see the future, jobs first, then house, then kids, then better house, and so on. That was our plan, and we were both on board, but then life happened. I lost my job before we could buy a house, blah, blah, blah. He just said he would have, if he could do it all over again in his own life and with his own kids, it would be less argument and more pep talk. Focus on the encouragement, not the put down in the argument. It's pretty good.
Yeah. So did you tell, oh, you did tell us our do-over. Well, you're still on time. I mean, you're not done.
Oh, I got plenty more. How much time you got?
Parenting. Oh, you got more do-overs? Brian, seriously?
If I'm totally honest, I finish most days going, well, maybe tomorrow I won't be so bad.
Okay, let's stop here. You
Isn't it time
tell
to go?
me no. Oh my gosh, because I always walk away like, wow, I'm hard on myself. I'm always so down about my motherhood, like about me and parenting. And so it makes me wonder, shouldn't I walk more victoriously as a Christian and stop being so like doubtful and insecure about my parenting? Obviously, Brian, you're the main one that's like, Janelle, you're very hard on yourself.
Well, you are hard on yourself.
You're hard on yourself, it sounds like. Most days.
I just like picking on you.
Okay, so can you please give me more?
I got
Spill
Sarah.
the tea.
Sarah, oh, wow.
Hey.
Yes, very well played. And I, oops.
Yeah.
I've got Sarah. And she's a better parent than I am. And so I can at least sometimes say, well, they got a great mother, you know. I have some victories, of course, some things that happen that are good, and I try to thank the Lord for those. But, you know, it's hard. And I have a lot of days where things are going well, and then something blows up, and you don't handle it well, and all you can do is go, man, I got to try better tomorrow, or I'm not going to screw this up tomorrow, or I better go apologize to the kid, or whatever.
Where does it come from? Is it standards that you have that's been set?
Well, it's me falling short of God's standard.
God, okay. I mean, but that's like every day.
I'm my own worst critic, but in many respects, like if I walked around thinking I'm a great dad, I'm not understanding that God expects enough of me that I don't, and I fail at it enough that I've got to do better.
Yeah.
And I need Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, and that sounds hyper spiritual, but I don't want to get to a place where I feel like I've got it figured out.
Yeah, but how do you not stay in a place that's like, oh my goodness, I'm messing up?
I search for victories.
Yeah.
You got to try to find a victory in the midst of all the defeats, and look at it and go, at least I got that.
Yeah. There's an area for me that I'm like, if I at least did this today, I'm good.
I've got one today.
What is it for you?
So my son Matthias, my sweet little second grader, we had a day where, you know how this goes, the schedule's crazy. We got to get to I got 20 minutes. I got to leave the house in 20 minutes. And I'm right in the middle of doing the dishes, and I got a kid who needs to eat something. I got this long list of things, and he walks up and he says, Daddy, let's go pass the football.
Oh, that's cool.
What did I do?
Did you put it down and go?
I couldn't.
Oh.
At least in my mind, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I had to get out the door with the kids. I got to do whatever with the dogs. I got to finish loading the dishwasher because it'll stress out my wife if I don't.
Yeah.
And so today what I can do is I can go to my son. I can either beat myself up about that, or I can go to my son and say, son, remember when you asked me to play catch? I'm sorry we didn't do it then. Would you play catch with me now?
Oh, that's cool.
That's what I can do today.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sarah Dolan says, you're an amazing dad, and our kids are very blessed to have you as their dad.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Callie says, I
wasn't looking for
second
that.
with what Brian is saying. Sometimes I second guess if I'm doing everything right, and I apologize to my children. For me, yesterday we talked about the myth of perfect motherhood. And for me, you remember how we said part of what can help is saying, I'm enough, or I've done enough? My enough is, like that Marshall moment. Did I have, it was with, because he said football.
Well, yeah, no, you're thinking Marshall plays football.
Did I at least, because I have 6, with at least 2 or one of the kids connect where like, did I see you? So did I read at least one book with you? Or did I take one walk with you? Because where my mind goes is, are they learning enough? Are they okay? Am I teaching them chores? Am I teaching, oh my God, I'm not teaching them about finances enough. All of that, I realize a lot of the days is, you know what? At the end of the day, I want so that when my kids leave at 18, besides their walk with the Lord and everything, is to be connected and to like have a relationship. So I always try to win at that, because sometimes the stuff we feel we fail at aren't even essentials. Yeah,
pick one. Pick one victory. I think is one way to do it. And I shouldn't have chucked my article. I was embarrassed. But my wife said nice things. Sweetheart, thank you so much for saying that nice thing. I don't feel like a great dad. I'm just trying to keep up with you. You're a great mommy.
She is awesome. Iris says, Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon.
You don't know that song because it's not a Spanish song or whatever.
No, I don't.
It's an old song
about. This is for you, Ira. This is for you from Ira.
No, it's an old song, and it essentially says this very thing. It's about a dad and his son, and the dad, his wife's giving birth, And he's like, I can't wait for my son to grow up. We're going to spend time together. And then the next verse is his little boy asks him to do something, but he's like, I'm sorry, son, I'm busy. We'll do that later.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next verse is the next phase of life. I'm sorry, son. We'll do that later. And then the next verse is the tables are turned. And he wants to hang out with his son, his grown son. And his response to his dad is, sorry, Dad, I'm busy. I can't.
Oh, wow. Mike says that is a sad song.
It's a very sad song, yeah.
Sheila says, apologizing to them is such a big thing in my opinion. My parents didn't apologize to me. I make an effort to apologize to my kids so they can know that I know I've made mistakes and admit I make mistakes. Yeah, that's a big thing. We've seen that come up a couple times in the show. And Rob wants to know, a good friend of the show, does being an introvert play into this? Your issues or struggles with parenting?
Perhaps. But again, if I focused on all the failures, I would be a total disaster. So I've actually just learned that trying for one victory and focusing on the one victory is enough. Isn't it?
I think so. You know what routine that's helped me is actually writing it down when like if you have a gratitude journal or maybe just a journal or maybe just thinking about it, being intentional about what am I thankful for today, or thinking back on your day, like where did I win? You know, it's being intentional about those helps me close my day and realize, because I focus on the stuff that's like, I got to do this tomorrow, I got to do better tomorrow. And when you really sit and look at your day, you can find small victories.
You really can.
Whether it's you tickled them for a couple minutes, you know, whatever it is, you can. I like doing that and being intentional about finding those moments.
Well, because I think the difficulty is that we do legitimately have responsibility. Like, yeah, I'd love to go play catch with my son and cancel my other kid's event. But that doesn't, then I'm ruining that kid's day. There's certain things where you do have responsibility and you don't want to be the guy in the song that says, no, we'll do it later.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to, don't you?
Yeah.
You've said that.
Yeah.
I bet you feel guilty when you say that to your kids.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that right now. Mommy, let's, you know.
Play a board game. There's like a board game, and I will do that with my kids. But like, there's some that I'm like, oh my, and
like,
then
let's play Monopoly. No.
Oh, yes, but then there'll be a kid where you're like, wow, he really.
And they're looking
likes,
at you.
Oh yeah.
Can
So
we
I
play
get
Monopoly?
that. Yeah.
How about we play a fast game? How about tic-tac-toe? Let's play that.
Oh, Rob, to close out, is saying, I'm proud of all of us great fathers. That's a great way to close it.
Rob's the man.
You guys are doing awesome.
All right, thanks, you guys. We got to run. Sorry to say it, but thanks for all of your input on this. Special thanks to my lovely wife, Sarah, for almost making me cry on here by saying something very nice to me.
That's cool.
Yeah. Love you guys, and we will catch you, I'd say on the flip side, but I'm not sure I even know what that means.
Peace out.
If I said I'd catch you on the flip side, that would not be accurate, right?
Why? I don't know.
Is that tomorrow?
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
If the flip side were tomorrow,
we catch
you
you
on the flip side.